All right, so welcome everyone to our joint health and balance class. I reorganized my garage a little bit, so it might look a little bit tidier. But yeah, other than that, this is our second to last week of this term. Next week we will have our sessions will be slightly shorter, but we are gonna do our assessments, our post assessments. So if you remember, we had some exercises when we first started the term that we do want to develop into just get better at, some balance exercises, some range of motion movements. I think we also had like a rating scale for some movements, like how challenging was this? Like rated 1 through 5. So maybe you remember some of those exercises, but anyways, we'll go over that next week. But yeah, today we'll start off with some stretching movements from our feet, also some balance, and then transition down to the chair and then down to the floor. So again, if you have any requests on muscle groups or joints that you want to stretch out a little bit more today than others, let me know in the chat. But let's go ahead and get started. So we'll start with our Romberg stance. Easy stance here. Feet are right next to each other. You could do these barefoot. You could do these on a yoga mat. So let's just go ahead. We're here. Just kind of, try to notice the little movements around your ankles. That's usually what I feel with this one. It's just ankles or arches. So here, just nice and relaxed. Not much is going on. We're going to throw off our balance a little bit by looking left to right. Let's look left to right. Getting a nice little neck stretch here as well. It's weird weather. It was really hot on Monday. It was chilly yesterday. Who knows what it's going to be like today? Up and down. Look up and down. Who do you have here? Doris and Robin. Welcome. So again, if you know of any folks that are interested in joining or signing up for the summer classes, shoot me an email or a text. Okay. Right now, we're going to go ahead and close our eyes. Yeah, I believe that one class just still needs one more person. And then other than that, we're pretty set. Just close your eyes. Take nice breaths. Open your eyes. Very good. All right, we're going to go ahead and just do slow high knee marches. So just as the name states, we're going to just drive our knees as high as we can. The higher you go, the more mobility you will have on your hip. So right here. Again, we're just alternating. All right, let's go ahead and just a little bit of shoulder work, nothing too much or taxing. So we're just going to do shoulder circles. One more forward, and then now let's go in reverse. Very good. All right, let's do our snow angels. So snow angels just right here. One more. Very good. All right. We are now going to go ahead and put our right foot in front of our left. So tandem stance right here. Ugh. We have our last track meet this weekend on Saturday. And yeah, we have a few athletes there competing. And my top girl that has been doing awesome this season. This will be her last race with us. But yesterday we were doing nominations for awards for our sports banquet next week. And it was a unanimous decision that she's going to be our team's MVP this year. So pretty excited for her. We're here. Let's look left to right. Now up and down. There's a flock of parakeets flying around. Very good. Oh, there we go. All right, and this is where we're going to be careful and make sure we're going to close our eyes. But if you feel unsafe, open your eyes and just separate your stance. So again, just you're okay with it. Close your eyes. 10 more seconds and relax. Very good. All right, just kind of kick out your feet a little bit before my arches are getting tender. I don't know if your folks' are. So we're gonna go ahead, same stance, right foot in front of our left. We're gonna elevate that hind leg. So we're just on one foot here. Okay. And your call, I'll leave this up to you. You could either just hold the stance or you could do a little one-legged squat if you like. And the squat motion is just going to strengthen your quad a little bit. But again, that's if you want to do it. Hold this for another 10 seconds. And then now we're going to do some high knee drives from here, this position. So left leg, we're going to bring it into a high knee. Then step back. And we want to lengthen that back leg where it's fully extended. We need to do two more. Last one. All right. Very good. All righty. Now we're going to go ahead and just do a little bit of strengthening for our balance. So we'll go with some standing Jane Fondas. We're here. We're going to lift our right leg, do some hip abductions. Just lift that back. Try to keep that torso upright. We don't want to do too much leaning. Six, seven. We're gonna go for 10 of these. 8, 9, and 10. Alrighty. Very good. Now left leg. Elevate that left leg. Then again. Rise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That outside lateral part of my 9 of my stiff leg is burning. 10. All right. Grab a little bit of water. Take a little quick 20-second break. Okay. Let's go left foot in front of our right. Just kind of breezing by these standing balance stretches here. Ooh. So, is anyone doing anything fun this month? A little bit of traveling. I think we don't really get much of a break in between spring and summer. We do have a 3-day weekend though. So our first day of summer term will be on a Tuesday. So after Memorial Day.
Oh, graduation stuff. Now I don't have to go. I get to watch YouTube, so that's good.
Nice. Let's look left to right.
Granddaughter's got a spring concert, same weekend Ella does.
Okay. Yeah. Something to look forward to.
Stuff like that. Still thinking where to get away. I don't know.
Yeah, same here.
Just kind of up in the air. It's going so fast. I haven't had time to really think on it. And then I got to make all these doctor appointments, fun stuff.
Up and down now. Yeah. I just want to do something because I always get excited for summer, but if nothing changes or I don't do anything different, then what's the point? I'm actually working more during the summer, but I think we're gonna try and do maybe I I don't think Julian cares much for Legoland, but he really likes the Legoland Hotel. So I think we might try to do the Legoland Hotel. Yeah. All right, let's close our eyes.
I did a round at Disneyland with the 3-day resident thing.
Oh yeah.
That was enough. And I am going to go camping in October.
Ooh, nice.
Lee Carrillo Beach, just not far.
About 10 more seconds with their eyes closed. And open them. All right, so we are okay. So now we're gonna do our hind leg elevated. It's for about 15 seconds here. Yeah, I still want to go camping, but I'm trying to figure out there's even a weekend that's possible, and I'm not sure if there is. We're gonna do a high knee drive now, so that hind leg, drive it up. We're doing 10. Yeah, I have family friends that own a cabin up in Truckee near Tahoe. So trying to see if maybe we could go in early June out there, but we'll see. I think they had some maintenance to do. So if they get that done, we might be out there. Two more. Last one. All right. Yeah, I just found out that we have our coaches convention in Fresno in early August. I don't know if I want to go. I might just go through Zoom. I was like, Fresno in August doesn't sound very appealing. So, all right, let's do a couple stand-up stretches and then we'll finish off with our balance actual exercises here. So, all right, so let's go ahead and just bring that right arm across. Yeah, we have these coaches conventions and yeah, every year there's a rotation. So it's usually Northern California that hosts and Southern California, and then the combined ones usually in Vegas. So last year was in Vegas, and then let's switch. Was it Vegas? I think so. I forget. So Vegas, and then it was the year before that. It was in Newport Beach, and the folks from NorCal love it because Newport Beach is pretty iconic down south. But then and then when we went up the previous year, it was in Marin and no in Monterey Bay. So that was really pretty. I took the whole family. So this year's it's NorCal's rotation, and they chose Fresno. And I'm like, I was like, why can't we go back to Monterey Bay? So let's bring that arm back and hands down.
Sacramento would have been better.
Yeah, Sacramento or like the Redwoods, Tahoe.
Yeah, Tahoe.
Tahoe would have been awesome. There's Lake Tahoe Community College up there too. So, but it's usually I don't know, there's a school that always wants to host. So, but yeah, I'm not, yeah, who knows? We'll see if I think I do have to go.
They should do it in San Diego on when you do South and then go to a Padre game. That's the nicest stadium. It's a lot of fun
Yeah,
there, or Coronado Island.
they should do it in San Diego, but then we should end up at Dodger Stadium instead.
Did you? I watched it last night. I've been watching.
Let's go ahead and do let's do our shoulder press. So just right here.
Angel Stadium's easier to park and get there than
Oh
traffic
man,
at Dodger Stadium.
that's true.
I
Angel
burned
Stadium,
my I burned my clutch out at Dodger Stadium going up that hill.
yeah, Angel Stadium is nice.
Yeah.
Parking scheme. You can just press, bring those elbows as low as you can, and up as high as you can reach. Okay. All right, we're gonna do this is a oh yeah, let's go ahead and do with our work our way down. So let's do our trunk rotations. Crunch there. Everything's cracking right now. I haven't been running, so I think my body's just really stiff. All right, ab circles. So hinge at the hip, keep your back straight, come across, and then recline. do two more on each side. Last one. Very good. All right, big hula hoops. Just exaggerate hip circles. Switch. All right, so let's get a little water. Little water or a little yogurt with watermelon, either one. Okay. So we're gonna walk the tightrope. So right here, just go ahead, find the longest stretch in your room. Just one foot in front of the other. Oh, it's a little off. So you're reaching. Once you reach that end, let's go in reverse. It shouldn't be too taxing. Okay. All right, just give yourself a little 10-second break. We're gonna do the same stretch or the same movement, but now on our forefoot only. So that's gonna activate your arches and your calves a little bit more. So less surface area. It's gonna be a little bit more challenging for your balance too. So again, let's challenge ourselves on your forefoot, tippy toes. Oh, this computer always wants to do an update. Never fails. And go in reverse. All right. Okay. And do a little hamstring stretch. So you might remember this one, but it's just called the ankle sweep. So we're gonna go ahead, stick out our front leg straight, and then just sweep with your hands and come up. Okay. Then you use a short step, and then now that left leg is gonna be straight. And I just want you to sweep. Just feel that whole back, but mainly on your hamstrings. So again, now alternate little step. Right leg is out straight. Sweep. Switch. Left leg now. Oof. That felt good. Alrighty. Very good. Let's go ahead and do some standing hip openers. Okay. So, all right. So standing hip openers. High knee drive. That right knee. Once you're here, rotate that knee out and down and up and then down. That's one. We're gonna do 5 on each side. 2, 3, five. And just shake out your legs a little bit. All right, left leg. Drive that knee up, out, down, up, in. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and grab our chair. All right, so we'll spend some time on the chair, stretching here. This chair. Trying to eat a light breakfast because I think for dinner we're having burgers, and I like making my burgers pretty heavy. So that's the good thing about knowing what you're having for dinner later is you could be mindful of what you have for breakfast and lunch. So, all right. So let's go ahead and then sit on our left hand. Bring your right hand over. Yeah, 'cause if you think about it, if you don't plan that stuff ahead, maybe for breakfast you have an omelet, which omelets are good, but then you add bacon, some hash browns, or maybe, some juice, which juice is great, has nutrients, but also has a lot of sugar, especially depending on the source that you get it from. But then let's say for lunch, you maybe you don't have a lunch. You could just skip it, or you forget about it, or maybe you do have lunch and maybe it's just like a burger. And then let's switch. And let's bring that other arm over. And then who knows, maybe for dinner you have pasta, or you have something that's a little bit greasy, and you had no idea to start off your day that all three of your meals were going to be maybe on the fattier side. Just contain more fat or sometimes more sugar. But if you know ahead, okay, I'm going out to dinner um, later tonight or maybe even tomorrow, let me take it a little easy, leading up to that. So,
I love how at some point we always wind up talking about food.
always,
Every
right?
time.
Every time. Yeah.
I was just thinking the same thing. Julio loves his food.
I do. I have no self-control. And especially if it's something I enjoy. Um, chips are I don't know how to say no to chips. So it could be a tiny, like little 50-cent bag. They're not even 50 cents anymore, or not even, they used to be a quarter. Now they're like $1. But so we did these. Let's go ahead and do our neutral grip shoulder press. So now we have our arms here going up. So this is just gonna trigger your medial back, so the center of your back a little bit more. But yeah, so I could have a tiny bag in front of me that has maybe like 10 chips. Or if I'm watching a movie and I could have a family party size bag next to me, and that's gonna be gone by the time the movie's over. So that's why and I have the worst habit, and I live like maybe 200 yards from Ralph's here, so I just like walk there sometimes. And you know, my wife would be like, "Hey, can you go grab some onions or some cilantro or tomatoes or something. So I go, and of course, Ralph's has a special of, it's like one bag of chips for $6 or five bags of chips for $10. And you're not even there for chips, but it's such a great deal that I have to get five bags. Otherwise I'm getting ripped off. So yeah. Let's go ahead and do our hip openers. So bring that right leg out. And yeah, and then that's how we end up with five bags of chips at home. And it always, 4th of July is coming around, so I know there's gonna be sales and yeah, and I'm a sucker for those on deals. Anyways, enough about food. Is anyone planning to go to any of the Olympic events this summer? Oh, Jan, what do you get tickets yet for anything? Let's switch.
Yeah, in the first round, um, uh, my husband and I got selected to buy tickets, and my son did not. So,
Oh,
but that's okay. So we each got our maximum number of tickets. That's 12 per person.
oh,
We
wow.
each got 3 events, 4 tickets.
Okay.
So I did get athletics,
Yeah.
your home sport.
Yeah, yeah.
And I got a prelims day that has a lot of field events.
Okay. In that right ankle here. Yeah. Cool. So and then I think track and field is towards the end, right, of the Olympics. I think it's like maybe within the last week or so.
Well, but there's so many prelims and heats and
Yeah,
all
yeah,
that.
yeah.
It takes a lot of
Yeah,
time.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome. What other sports did you get?
I got men's volleyball, which is at the Honda Center. That's the
Oh,
easiest one to get
yeah,
to, right?
yeah.
I got taekwondo.
Oh, cool.
Um,
Info touchdown.
then we got track cycling. uh,
Where's
Opening
that?
ceremony, and I think a beach volleyball.
Okay, cool. Do you know where they're hosting the track cycling?
Oh, it's at the Velodrome in Carson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's indoors. It's an excellent
Oh, wow.
facility.
Well, I don't think I've ever been there or heard of it.
Yeah, I forget what the name of where the 405 curves, right, in
Yeah,
Carson,
yeah,
and where
yeah,
the soccer stadium and the tennis stadium is. There's a
yeah.
velodrome in there too.
Wow. I was just there like 2 weeks ago, and I mean, I ate my burger in the stands of the tennis stadium, and I watched the soccer game, but I never noticed the other venue. Okay, cool. Well, if anyone says, I don't want to go see people throw a shot put or a javelin, let me know. So I completely signed up for all of that stuff, and all of those reminder emails went to my spam. So I showed up to practice one day, and about a third of my team that don't work, and I don't know how they have money, were like, Coach, did you get these tickets? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then they're like, yeah, like I got the email over the weekend or a couple of days ago. Let's push down. And then I'm like, no. I was like, and I checked and I had missed it. And then I asked them like, how much are the tickets? Like, oh well, I got the preliminaries for the steeplechase, and that was like $300. And I was like, oh shoot. I was like, oh, I'm kind of glad I missed it. But yeah, I know at Long Beach they're hosting maybe about 9 different events. The city of Long Beach here, so I'm not too far from them. So
Yeah,
uh, maybe I'll go
yeah,
to the top of Signal Hill and I'll just kind of peek
yeah.
over and let's bring that knee up.
Yeah. Well, in hindsight, I should have opened a no interest for a year credit card and used that at least to
Yeah,
stretch it out.
yeah.
But you should have look in your spam again, because you should have gotten an email saying you're automatically enrolled for the second round.
I may have to, yeah. So,
So not, I mean, my husband got one of the first times and then I got a later time and a lot of things were no longer available by the
oh, I
time I
see.
got in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, because they hold them back for the next one.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I'll give it a shot. Let's go ahead and do our squat variations. So, all right, so we're gonna go from here and then no hands and just stand up. We're doing 8 of these. Anyone else get any? So, Jen, if you take a big enough purse, maybe I could jump in there. Uh, so-
Okay, we'll work on that.
yeah. Now all those bags need to be clear. When you go to Dodger Stadium, it has to be a clear bag. So let's do one more. And just relax. Again, that's more of a strengthening movement. So take about a 20-second breather. And next we're gonna work on our right leg being extended or elevated. Okay. I don't know if I get eczema around my knee, but like my lower left leg gets it around this time of the year. It's starting to get itchy, so gotta relieve that. All right, so right leg extend or elevate, okay? So you could extend just a tad or completely extend it. So go back here, see, and begin. And we're here, and we're doing 8. 3, 4, 5, 6, oof, 7, and 8. Right, rest those 20 seconds. Again, a little water break if needed. All right. Left leg extended or elevated. And 8 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right. Awesome. All right, so next we're gonna go ahead and just work on our lower legs. Let's just go ahead and do some heel raises, just activating our calf muscles a little bit. About 15 to 20 of these. Yeah, so this weekend, I think today's what, the 13th? Tomorrow's 14th, 15th. So next Friday's the 22nd. So yeah, so next week is our last week. And then we have, I don't see you the following Monday because of Memorial Day, but then we start on Tuesday. And then starting that week, that's where that first week we go Tuesday to Saturday, and then the following week we go Monday through Saturday. So if you're in all 6 of my classes. All right, let's go ahead and then now keep your feet flat, but now raise your toes. So toes towards the ceiling. We'll see. I think in the summer, at least for one of the Saturday classes, I like to get together again. I know a few years ago we met at Mount Square Park, but if we could do something like that, I think once this summer in lieu of a class session, I think that'd be nice for whoever can make it. So let's go ahead and elevate that right leg and just trace your ABCs. Or I could try to get a 12 passenger van and we could go visit Terry out there in Camarillo. How does that sound, Terry?
Let me know when you're coming so I can be elsewhere. No, we have some lovely trails and parks and things out here. So,
Yeah. So let's do our other ankle. Do you go on walks in your area, Terry?
there's a nice path around our hill that I go on, but I have to be very careful because my medication affects my balance.
Okay. I was gonna ask about rattlesnakes in that area. There's
None so far for me, but last year I had two great big
okay.
ones in the yard. So,
Oh, okay, yeah. So we want to be barefoot for these next ones. These are for our arches. So again, our feet are flat. So we're just gonna go ahead and just claw at the floor. So gripping the floor, just toes and you scratch. Really feeling that on your arches. Okay, very good. Now with your feet flat, we're gonna pull your arches towards your heels. Okay, so keeping your feet flat, pull arches. Should feel those arches getting a little bit tighter, and you should feel your calf muscles activating as well. Alrighty, very good. Okay, let's go ahead. We're gonna transition down to the floor. We'll finish our last 10 minutes or so on the floor. So let's get our yoga mats. Get your yoga mats. Give you about a minute to set up. We'll finish on the floor right now. All right. So what we're gonna do is just kind of kneel. So if you could have your feet kind of your arches, the bottom of your feet should be on the upside position. So if that makes sense. So if you could see my feet here, I'm just gonna go ahead and sit on my heels if that's possible. Okay. So if not, then just this position here should get a nice stretch on the upper part of your foot. So, or your feet. But if you want to get a little bit more stretch, you just kind of sit back. I know for the longest time this was very uncomfortable for me to do, and I couldn't do it sometimes. So if you recognize any pain or doesn't feel great, then just no, this is enough. But I'm gonna hold this for about maybe 20 more seconds. This is one that I think I stopped doing before my runs, and it might have influenced um, the tightness of my calves. That I think the tightness came back because they stopped doing it. All right, now let's go ahead and then, so instead of just laying your toes flat and relaxed, now you're gonna tuck in your toes underneath your feet, if that makes sense. So now your toes are under your feet, and now your arches or the bottom of your feet are facing directly behind you, while your toes are slightly bent. So you're gonna feel that stretch a little bit more on your arches. I feel a little uncomfortable on that joint of the toes. And again, if it feels uncomfortable, then just kind of sit here and have that slight stretch. But if we're not feeling that stretch too much, you can sit back. All right, relax. Gonna go ahead and get on our floors here. Okay, so wrists right below your knees. Sorry, wrists right below your shoulders, knees right below your hips, face down. You're gonna arch up, inhale, exhale, repeat. Okay, now inhale, bring that back up and bring your glutes back to your heels and drop your elbows down. Reset. Okay, we're here in our floor, so I want you to bring out your right leg and stretch it out completely. And then we're just going to raise it up and down. Okay, so ideally you want to keep looking down with your head, with your eyes. Keep your head looking down and just raise that leg up and down. All right, reset, back on your fours, and extend your left leg and up and down. So about 5 more. and relax. Good. Very good. Okay. Just gonna go ahead and we're kneeling here. We're almost done. Bring that right leg out and just lean forward. Just hold that stretch. Okay. Go ahead, bring your torso up, rotate your torso towards your leg, and then lean towards that stretched leg. Now we're feeling it on our hamstrings. Reset. And we're just going to finish with the other leg. So extend that leg, rotate or lean forward, sorry. Come upright, rotate your torso left, and lean. Come back and reset. Alrighty. Should do it for today. Any questions before we head out? How are we feeling? You good?
Good,
You
good. At what time is the hamburger?
I'm sorry, say that again?
At what time is gonna be the hamburger dinner?
Oh, the hamburger? Probably around 7 p.m.
Okay,
Yeah.
we will be there.
So,
Okay.
okay, I
At
expect you.
6:30
All
we're
right.
gonna be there.
Nick,
Gracias, Olga.
you're in charge of the. All right, bye. And you're in charge of the shrimp and lobster, though. So,
No, it's
okay.
hamburger. It doesn't match. Okay, thank you.
All right,
I'm going to
folks.
take
I'll
the
see you
cheese.
guys.
Bye.
Okay,
All right,
Gracias.
bye, everyone. Take
Uh-huh.
care.
Gracias.
Okay, bye
Adios.
now.
Adios.
Bye, Heidi. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.